Who really invented Thanksgiving? If you said the Pilgrims and Native Americans, you're missing the real power player. The real architect of the holiday we celebrate today wasn't a pilgrim in a buckled hat, but a 19th century magazine editor, a widow, and one of the most influential women you've probably never heard of. Imagine a widowed mom with 5 kids, using a woman magazine to sway 5 presidents and totally change American culture. Meet Sarah Hale, the woman who spent 40 years lobbying 5 presidents to create America's most beloved tradition. Our story begins not with a feast, but with a tragedy. Born in 1788, Sarah Hale found herself widowed at 34, with 5 young children to support. With 5 children and no options, she turned to the only weapon she had: her pen. She started writing poems and novels to keep her family afloat. You know that classic song, Mary Had a Little Lamb? Yep, that's one of her earliest work. His is the story of how a widow became the most powerful woman in America and how she used the magazine to change what it means to be American. In 1837, she landed the most powerful job a woman could have in American media: editor of Godey's Lady's Book. This wasn't just some small-town circular. This magazine was a big deal before the Civil War, with over 150,000 subscribers making Hale a cultural powerhouse. She used her platform to influence American life in ways we still see today. The tradition of a bride wearing a white wedding dress? Popularized by Sarah Hale. Having a Christmas tree in your home? She helped make that a national trend, too. She was, in essence, America's first major influencer, shaping the very idea of the American home. And she had her sights set on something much bigger: a national day of Thanksgiving. In the mid-1800s, Thanksgiving wasn't a national holiday. It was a messy regional affair. Some northern states celebrated it, but on different days with different traditions. Many southern states didn't celebrate it at all. There was no shared, unifying day for the country to give thanks. Sarah Hale saw this as a problem. She believed a unified Thanksgiving could help stitch together an increasingly divided nation. So in 1846, she launched her campaign. It was a multi-pronged attack. First, she used her magazine, writing passionate editorials year after year, calling for a national day of thanks. She painted a picture of what this day should look like, creating a new tradition from scratch. She took the vague historical reference of the 1621 Pilgrim Feast and built an entire mythology around it. She's the one who set the menu we all love: roast turkey, stuffing, cranberry sauce, and of course pumpkin pie. She essentially provided a recipe, not just for a meal, but for a national identity. Second, she went straight to the top. She began writing personal letters to the presidents of the United States. She pleaded her case with President Zachary Taylor. He said no. She tried Millard Fillmore. He ignored her. She wrote to Franklin Pierce and then James Buchanan. Nothing. For 17 years, she faced a wall of presidential indifference. Imagine the persistence it took to be rejected by 4 consecutive leaders of the free world, and still keep writing, still keep pushing. Most people would have given up. But Sarah Hale was not most people. Her moment finally came at the nation's darkest hour. The year was 1863. The Civil War was raging, tearing the country apart. Battles like Gettysburg had left the nation reeling from unimaginable loss. The United States was hanging by a thread, and that's when Sarah Hale saw her chance to step in. In September of that year, she wrote another letter, this time to President Abraham Lincoln. But this letter was different. She framed her decades-old idea in a new, urgent light. She didn't just ask for a day of thanks. She proposed a Union Festival. She suggested that a shared day of thanks, celebrated by everyone, could really bring the nation together. It could be a moment to remember the shared values that held the country together, even amidst the bloodshed. It was a brilliant political move, using a domestic tradition as a tool for national healing. For reasons we can only guess, maybe it was her passion, the urgency of the moment, or her long fight. Lincoln listened. He saw the wisdom in her proposal. Just 1 month later, on October 3, 1863, President Lincoln issued the Thanksgiving Proclamation. He declared the last Thursday in November as a national day of thanksgiving and praise. He called upon Americans, even in the midst of a civil war of unequaled magnitude and severity, to pause and give thanks. It was a radical act of hope. A single woman's persistent vision had finally become national policy. The impact was immediate and lasting. Lincoln's proclamation was repeated every year by the presidents who followed him. The tradition Sarah Hale had promoted in Godey's Lady's Book for decades, the turkey dinner. The family gathering quickly became the American standard. In 1870, Congress officially made Thanksgiving a federal holiday, cementing its place in the national calendar. Sarah Hale continued her work, editing her magazine until she was nearly 90 years old. When she passed away in 1879, she had lived to see her 40-year-long dream become a permanent, beloved American institution. The date was later moved to the fourth Thursday in November by Congress in 1941, but the holiday she designed remains. So when we look back, we see the incredible complexity of her achievement. Sarah Josepha Hale didn't just preserve a tradition. She invented one. She used the story of the Pilgrims as a brilliant marketing tool, crafting a national mythology that felt both historic and deeply personal. She was a master of political engineering, disguising it as simple domestic advice. She weaponized the idea of the women's sphere, the home, family, and tradition, and turned it into a powerful force for political change. So this year, when you sit down for your Thanksgiving meal with the turkey and the pumpkin pie, remember the woman who put it there. The holiday isn't just a relic of 1621. It's the legacy of a determined, brilliant woman who knew that sometimes the best way to change a nation is to change how it sits down for dinner. This is the kind of cultural twist historians often miss. Hit that subscribe button for more stories about how traditions shape nations. Here's the question: was she a historian or a propagandist? Drop your take in the comments. See you then.